Okay, thank you, councillors, staff, and anyone else there in cyberspace that's watching the meeting today. Welcome to you all. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we are meeting today, the Bangarang people, and acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who now reside in this area. I extend that respect to elders, past and present, of the Bangarang nations. I'll now call for apologies. Are there any apologies, please?
I do have the leave of absence was approved for Councillor Bronwyn Thomas to be absent from this meeting for work reasons. She does inform me that she's on her way home from work and will probably join the meeting very soon. So we'll just note her absence, Rochelle, at the start, and we'll make a time if Councillor Thomas does join us.
She just logged on by the look of it, Adrian.
Oh, good. Thank you. So we don't need that one. Thanks, Rochelle. Looks like we've got everybody on board. Yep.
Full house.
Thank you.
Also, we've got apologies for absence for leave. There be none. Disclosures of interest.
Don't have any tabled.
Merrill Minute.
If I could bring up one, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you. Councillor Meagle, is that a
Disclosure
of interest?
Yes, it is. I'm not sure the relevance of it, but I thought I should mention it anyway. When it comes to the adoption of the fees and charges in item 7.3, I have an interest with the Rotary Club of Corowa, who has lodged a application for in respect of waiving those fees and licenses. So I'm not sure if it affects or not, but I thought I should mention it.
Thank you, Councillor Meagle.
I'd make a comment that we'll just note that as a non-significant, non-pecuniary, and I wouldn't envisage you'd need to leave the meeting for that recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to the Merrill minutes. There'd be none. Just one item, I suppose, probably can bring in the Merrill minute. I'd just like to apologise for the meeting today isn't being recorded, but will be available sometime after in the near future for anyone that's has anything of interest. So
sorry, it is being recorded, not able to be live streamed due to technical issues.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Recorded but not live streamed. So thanks for that. Now I'll move on to the General Manager's report, item 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 6.1 is Fight Cancer Foundation's Hilltop Accommodation Centre Albury Stage 2 request for donation. So councillors will be aware we did have a workshop presentation from a spokesperson for that group, Alice Glashan, Albury Councillor Alice Glashan, who came along and presented to council via the video conference, as is the normal these days. Certainly very worthwhile foundation and doing enormous work in there at Albury to continue to develop accommodation for both cancer patients while they're undergoing treatment and care, but also their carers and other close family that are there supporting those people. So I've put the letter as an attachment because that only came as a workshop item. So the letter has come through as an attachment now to council, recommending, totally up to council, but recommending that they would consider allocating 15,000 towards that and including that in our draft budget, which we'll adopt later today for exhibition, and then obviously go out on submissions with that and then bring that back forward as an item in our budget, depending on council on this recommendation.
Thank you. Can I move it for that recommendation?
Yes, I'll move that, Pat.
Yeah, and move to the comment.
Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Meagle, and comment, Councillor Meagle.
If I may, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So certainly support the recommendation. And I noticed that in the adoption, in a carryover from this year's budget, we had an extra community grants funds available. And whilst it was always intended to roll those over for community grant applications, we may be able to use some of that money to support this request, which hopefully will alleviate further pressure on the budget. So whether that needs to be formally moved as an amendment or whether you're just happy, the Finance Director is happy to take that as a recommendation, is up to you.
Thank you, Councillor Meagle. I would imagine, this resolution should cover that. This motion, sorry, should cover that because we can obviously put in the draft budget, and if that is a carry forward, already resolved, carry forward the unallocated, that'll just help towards that, I think. I would assume Joe would be okay with that, our Director of Finance.
Yes, I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
So,
Any other comments?
would like to change that recommendation at all towards that?
That's fine.
Right, Mr. Fine. Any other comments there, councillors? Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea that Paul's put forward, and council in the journey has been very generous with the opportunity for so many organisations, and I think another consideration coming forward, how much would it be? Would it be up to 30,000? Would it be in the community grants? But I think the request is for all the 15,000. I think it's an excellent one-off opportunity to support that entity.
Yeah, and I'll just make a note on that, Councillor Longmire, that I remember the speech, and it was about saying that it's obviously a longer term project, so if council wanted to go forward further, they would also consider multi-year funding. So whether that would be of helping as well. It's obviously a long-term thing, and they could possibly do 15 next year, and we could look at further funding following year.
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. General Manager, you inspected a new or nearly finished town hall in Howlong this morning. And the back of my mind, I've been thinking that there's an opportunity there to have a fundraising event for this particular accommodation centre, somewhere when we can get enough people in the hall. And if council could support that, then I think we'd come up with some pretty substantial money for that.
Well, yeah, Councillor Longley, anything that's going to create a bit of financial benefit for that facility. I note when we were discussing it at a workshop earlier, it's touched the hearts of not only a lot of our councillors but staff in the past with opportunities for accommodation when they've got loved ones or family there. So it's unreal, and it's so good to see that councils around the region are supporting it as well. So anything that would add to that, I would imagine, would be well received.
I think so, Mr. Mayor. That was what certainly the speech again talked about, council promoting other fundraising, not just coming from the council budget, but other fundraising through the community. Councillor Longley, so I think that would fit in with that perfectly.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something too, Pat, if that's possible.
Absolutely, Councillor Kennedy.
I reckon this is probably one of the greatest things. Like after being up there, involved with my father and up there, it's very worthwhile. We're gonna as a family we're gonna donate to, which I haven't rang Alice yet, but I'm gonna try and speak to her tomorrow. So that I'm fully support this situation. It's great to see. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, just echoing the words of the other councillors, there wouldn't be a person in our shire or towns that hasn't been touched by cancer either directly or through a close friend or work colleague or whatever. So I take my hat off to council for getting behind this, and I think the community will be very happy to see us putting some money towards this centre and making sure that it grows bigger and bigger.
Thank you, Councillor Whitechurch. Would there be any further questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put the recommendation. Councillor Wales.
Yeah, I'd just like to say everyone sort of for this and no further comment about like in May only it's a big plus and we can't help them any further. It's great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wales. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Item number 7.
6.62, Mr. Chair, is a report just furthering the discussions and negotiations for Cora Aerodrome to Amber Aviation. We are still working through the final stage of a negotiation mainly around the condition reports and assessment of the assets out there at the drone, but Amber is fully comfortable with our approach on that, so we're seeking to have a bit further time to fully exhaust and work through those assets out there, and we'll be seeking to get a report back through to the July council meeting. And reason for this report was the agreement to lease and the resolutions were all about coming to a conclusion by end of June. So we just wanted to formally see if council would endorse a further month to work through that. So recommendations there to note the report and to extend the negotiation period with Amber Aviation by a further month for an update at the July meeting.
Can I have a mover, please?
Happy to move that.
Whitechurch, second, please. Councillor Meagle. Questions or comments, councillors? Sorry, Councillor Whitechurch, was that you?
Oh, there was a couple there, Mr Mayor, but while you've got me, I'll go. Yeah, I think that given that Amber Aviation have been very good with our communication, and our communication to them appears to be well received by the continuing emails, so I think we're moving the right way, and it's only due that we give that extra time to get it right.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Councillor Whitechurch. And Councillor Meagle, did you?
Longmire, maybe?
Yeah, Longmire wants to as well.
I'm not sure who was.
Yeah.
Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, thank you. Given that the corona epidemic is causing so much upheaval within the air industry, and especially the embargo on people going around the world, and also with the announcement 2 days ago in regard to Qantas already stood 8,000 people down and another 15,000 as well, and other airlines are in a turmoil, both domestically and overseas. I think in the negotiation or the lease arrangement with Amber, that something should be quantified in regard to have they got an outlook whereby the opportunity for us to lease it for such a long time in regard to their opportunity. Should we not be looking also and talking with Amber in regard to their confidence and Watertight's outlook in regard to the training facility being utilised under the current circumstances?
Councillor Longmire, I'll just make a brief comment on that. I intended to thank council staff, in particular the general manager. The reason that this is put back a month, it's been really gone over with the fine tooth comb in relation to maintaining any of the terms and conditions, not only for council but for Amber, so that it's we have a successful relationship, because as you're saying, it is such a long term lease, and we've all got to be very careful and make sure it goes well. So having said that, I might ask the general manager if he'd like to make a comment on that.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Councillor Longmire. We did some media today, or I did an interview today for Prime for 7 on the aerodrome itself, and was asked that question about what the council's thoughts were about COVID and the disruption worldwide of the air traffic. So yeah, my comments were that the situation, this came off the back of the Qantas announcements, obviously, and again, all well pre-COVID, but really this is a 6 or 7 year, I suppose, embryo period anyway, where the company envisaged it'll take that long to get fully set up and operational, hence the lease period is proposed to be a peppercorn rental for that period, whilst they would take on other costs and things out there. But really that 6 or 7 years will allow things to settle down, and whatever the world will look like in that time, who knows? But there'd certainly be reason or room to move within that lease period, just like any other event may happen where things may differ substantially off their original position and their intent of their business model. So it's a genuine question and genuine unknown around, how long it will take for that. But the worldwide demand for pilots was so great anyway that I'm not thinking it'll be, totally done away with. They're still going to have flights, whether it's, commercial or other ways. So I'm thinking it just allows us, if this gets up and going to the extent it can, I think it allows us to be probably in a good position as much as anything to be one of the centres that is up and running, anticipating scaling back upwards of some stage once the vaccine's found or whatever does go ahead with COVID. But again, we don't have all the answers, but I think we need to make sure, like you'd said, that there's room in there and a full awareness from both parties as to the future.
Thank you. Any further questions on that, councillors? No further questions, councillors? If not, I shall put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Time lapse.
Wake up this laptop.
Okay, so that was your last report.
Yep.
Okay, so now we'll move on to item number 7, councillors, is the Director of Corporate and Community Services Report 7.1, the Draft Delivery Program 2020-2021 Annual Operational Plan 2020-2021 and Long-Term Financial Plan 2020-2030. I can, would you like me to run through that recommendation, Director, or would you like to take over? Up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to speak briefly to the report, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. This delivery program and long-term budget delivers on the key community infrastructure projects that are across the council area, and particularly the big ticket items being the Howlong Multipurpose Centre, the Corowa Swimming Pool, the All Abilities Playground in Mulwala, and the Arana Aquatic Centre. So the delivery program and the budget meets key strategic objectives, including that it's focused on the strategic objectives that are contained in Our Community, Our Opportunity strategic plan. It achieves a balanced cash position. It's working towards a balanced underlying operating result over time. It delivers on the grant funded projects that council has committed to. It plans for the renewal of council's infrastructure assets, factors in borrowings for infrastructure projects that generate a revenue stream or that have an intergenerational benefit. There's been some robust planning going into this long-term financial plan, and it sets a clear baseline and a path forward for council's financial sustainability. The long-term financial plan that is recommended to you does propose a rate increase at the rate peg for 2020-2021 and the following 2 years to have a rate increase above the rate peg. This increase is to accommodate the increased operating costs of the new community infrastructure that will be coming online over the next 2 years. There are 2 alternate scenarios in the report and the long-term financial plan. One where there's no special rate increase, and the other if there's a variation in the grant funding. So to give you an alternative position for a long-term financial plan that you can adopt. So the future year rate increase is subject, of course, to 2 key elements. One being extensive community engagement with the community to talk to them about what the options are, and the second being an application to IPART for an approval. This long-term financial plan, delivery program and budget, there will be an extensive community engagement process. We aren't able to do the normal budget roadshow that we would normally have done. So our communications team have put together a plan to be providing information online through social media, through our website, having some Google Meets so that our community members can actually talk to council officers about the budgets and give us direct feedback and ask questions of the budget that's before you. There'll also be information through local media. So the recommendation before you is as detailed there on the screen, and I endorse that long-term financial plan and delivery program as being financially responsible and recommend that to you for adoption in principle.
Thank you, Director Shannon. And thank you for all that amazing work that you've done on the budget as well. Councillors, I've got to move in a second. Was there any questions or comments on that?
We don't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have yet. Would someone like to move that, please?
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Thomas and seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Questions or comments, councillors?
Councillor Meagle.
Councillor Meagle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I echo your comments to the staff to pass on my gratitude for the work that they've done. It's been a large body of work, and all the effort and the whole staff went through to help CT management get to the draft long-term financial plan, and then to be able to pull this together has been significant, and and should duly be appreciated. I'm happy to support the recommendation on the understanding that the organisation is committed to the cost savings and capital works reduction that basically underpin the long-term financial plan. There's no point adopting this budget unless those two things take place. And to me, that's very critical to have the commitment from the organisation to follow those recommendations so that we can be in a financially stable environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Meagle. And I'd like to think that by adopting that, moving it, everyone is committing to our financial plan as discussed. So that's a great thing. Yeah, thanks very much. Any further comments there, Councillor Whitchurch?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo Councillor Meagle's comments there towards Director Shannon and all of the staff involved with this. I don't think the general community, certainly until I come on council, was aware of what's involved in getting to that final bottom line to make a break-even budget. And with the amount of money that you deal with, to end up getting that close to the scenario that we're in is incredible work. So I do also commend the staff to work through the savings that we've got to do. And given that we're a new council and taken on another shire and merged together, I think it's been a big challenge. So yes, there's going to be a rate rise, and I think that given a rate rise and people are going to see the rewards, that's certainly a positive.
Thank you, Councillor Whitchurch. Any further questions or comments there, councillors? I just had one that has already thrown your long-term financial plan out. Director Shannon, with those Federation Council receiving that 2.9 million today for roads, extra funding. So those sort of things happen, make the journey a little bit easier for us all too. If there's nothing further, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Director Shannon. Now we'll move on to the item number 8, Director of Development and Environmental Services report. There'll be no items. Now we'll move to the Director of Engineering, no items. Notice of motion, question without notice, no items. Confidential matters, 11. Would someone like to move us out of?
Have any?
We haven't, no, I'm sorry, there's no items there either.
Yep.
So, Council, would you like to conclude the meeting at that rate? Nothing else to talk about?
Sounds a good idea, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you
There we
very
go.
much. Meeting closed. Thank you.